The Volkswagen Up has always been one of our favourite little city cars, with its cheeky look, spacious interior, wheel at each corner stance, and it having the snob value of having a VW badge on its nose. It's always been a desirable little thing. For its midlife update, VW has improved the bits city car buyers like, so there's more ways to personalise it, with 7 different side decals, 7 wheel designs, 8 door mirror colours, 3 roof colours and 13 different body colours. And for good measure, they've tweaked the styling at the front end, with all ups now getting LED daytime running lights, new rear lights and a rather pointless air diffuser. It continues in here too, because there are 9 different designs of dashboard. Now, it's very easy to get distracted by all this personalisation. What really matters though is that Volkswagen has modernised this rather simple dashboard. So the controls around here have all been redesigned, and there are some big car options, like this steering wheel is taken straight out of the Volkswagen Golf, and there's now a colour screen in the centre of the dash, and if you specify it, you can have an optional rear reversing camera. The biggest change in here though is here, because whereas the old Up had a clip-on infotainment system that ran its own operating system, now you rely upon using your phone. So you just clip your phone in there, you download a free app, and your phone acts as your sat-nav and as your music streaming device. Elsewhere it's typical Up, so everything feels really nicely put together, and there's some good storage for a city car. There's a very large glove box, and the door bins just about pass the car buyer big bottle test and can swallow up a 1.5 litre bottle of water. Now you can go for a 5-door version of the Up, or you can save yourself £400 and ask your friends very nicely to clamber into the back of your 3-door. But it's not a totally inelegant process, it's quite simple, and if I slide the seat back into its original driving position, you can see I've got a good amount of knee room. Now it must be said, it's only the mid-spec and the top-spec versions of the Up have a sliding seat base. The basic Up doesn't have it at all. Anyway, like I said, knee room is absolutely fine. Headroom is very good too, thanks to the square roof dimensions, and it must also be said the Up is a strictly 4-seater. You're not going to fit anybody in the middle, and VW haven't fitted a lap belt either. Now the Up may appear to have a tiny little boot. Look at that, it's absolutely tiny, isn't it? But in actual fact, it's pretty large. It's one of the largest in the city car class, a point demonstrated very ably, if I say so myself, by the Car Buyer large suitcase test. If I grab that, and you can easily fit it in. The only real negative is this high lip and the drop into the floor, but there is a part cure for that, because apart from the very basic version of the Up, all the other Up models have a movable boot floor. If I just pull that into place, you have a much higher boot floor, and you can make the space larger with the split fold rear seats. And thanks to that boot floor, movable boot floor, you've now got a flat loading area. Now it must also be said that along with this boot floor, the basic version of the Up doesn't have a split fold rear seat. As standard, the base Take-Up model comes with electric front windows, LED daytime running lights and a 3.5-inch monochrome screen. Move Up adds alloys, the 5-inch touchscreen, while High Up gets ambient lighting and the smartphone cradle. This Beats edition adds these rather unusually trimmed seats, exterior graphics, extra speakers and a 300-watt subwoofer. Despite all the upgrades, you can still get a 1-litre 3-cylinder petrol engine with 59 bhp or 74 bhp and manual or automatic gearboxes. But the big news is the engine we've got here, because it's brand new to the Up range. Now it's a 1-litre 3-cylinder petrol engine with a tiny little turbocharger giving 89 brake horsepower. Now it's the same engine VW will put into the Up GTI, which comes along in 2018, and that'll have 118 brake horsepower. Not only is there more power than the normal 1-litre non-turbo version, but there's just a lot more fizz, a lot more enthusiasm with this little engine. And consequently the up feels better on the open road and a lot more sprightly around town, with a linear power delivery and a little 3-cylinder thrum, and the turbo really feeling as though it's on song all of the time. It's a little cracker, is this engine. It's an absolute joy. A cracker indeed, as it'll get from 0 to 62 miles an hour in just under 10 seconds. And while that may sound slow, for a city car that's pretty quick. For perspective, the 1 litre TSI is 3 seconds quicker to 62 miles an hour than the normal 74 bhp 1 litre up. And before you say the non-turbocharged 1 litre will be much cheaper to run, on paper VW claims the TSI should return 60 mpg. That's only 4 less than the non-turbo version, and it'll pump out 108 grams per kilometre of CO2 rather than 101. But you'll be having so much fun with your turbocharged up that you're very unlikely to see anywhere close to 60 mpg. If I check my trip computer, we're doing around 32. So that's not really very good. So you're going to have to weigh up, if you're watching the pennies, go for the 1 litre non-turbo. And if you're not, go for this. Elsewhere it's same old, which is not a bad thing. That wheel at each corner stance make the up very agile on the road and when parking. The steering is sharp and accurate, and the ride is good too, although this does translate into quite profound body roll. On top of all of this, there's great visibility, and the 5-speed manual gearbox is slick. Speaking of gearboxes, if you're not qualified to drive a manual, then that's the only reason why you should go for the ASG automatic version, because trust me, it's a pretty horrible automatic gearbox. The changes are slow and lethargic and they're jerky. So my recommendation would be to stick to the manual and save the money that you would be spending for the automatic. And just think what you could do with all the money you'd be saving. You could buy some stickers for your up, if you really wanted to. Which brings me on to the bad news. Don't get distracted by the personalisation options. If you want to make your car look individual, get a Mini. In fact, that's not as silly as it sounds. Go for the range topping up and add on some optional equipment, and it's possible to nudge the price up to £16,000, and that's well into Mini 1 money. And while this 1 litre turbo is great fun, it is expensive. The cheapest 1 litre TSI is this Beats edition, and it's well over £11,000. And if you don't like all the Beats edition's garish add-ons, you'll have to spend another £700 on the top spec high-up model to get this engine. My advice is to actually do without this engine and go for the standard non-turbocharged 1 litre engine, because the standard car is almost as much fun as this is. Or if you're not interested in the restyled interior and exterior and you've got a budget to stick to, you can always go for the Skoda Citigo and the Seat Mii, because they're mechanically identical to this and they're just as much fun to own. But if the allure of the VW badge is too much for you and you really want all the personalisation options and you like the interior and the exterior tweaks and you really want this 1 litre turbocharged engine, then only the VW Up will do. But if you've liked this video, then make sure you press our logo to subscribe to our channel, or you can watch our review of the Hyundai i10, and don't forget to watch our playlist of the best city cars.